I don't know, we just really were friends with everybody. And no matter what, like who they were, like we had a
Yeah,
lot of friends.
we
And that
did.
was like a new thing for me. Like I wasn't really a lot of friend person. I just had
Yeah,
like
I
a
mean, we
couple.
would we would hang out with anyone and everyone all the time. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Two Peas in a Pod.
I'm Maddie.
And I'm Liz, and we're your hosts. Okay, so today is our first episode, and in order to kind of start things out, we're just going to introduce ourselves and talk a little bit about our lives, some about our friendship, and just why we decided to start doing this podcast. We're currently recording this while both of our kids are asleep in the other room. So I'm going to start. My name is Elizabeth Conway, and I'm married to Keegan Conway. We have one daughter. She's a year old. Her name is Selah Conway. We are currently living in Sherwood right now.
Okay, so tell me about more like your childhood. Like where did you grow up and stuff like that?
I grew up in Sherwood, Arkansas. I've lived there my whole life. And we actually lived at my childhood home. My parents still live there. They've lived there their whole time they've been married. So I grew up there, went to a little elementary school that was right down the road. That's actually where me and Maddie first knew of each other or met each other, but we weren't really friends in elementary school.
What would you say your like personality was like as a kid?
I think I was pretty outgoing. I had a small group of friends. I think I got a lot more outgoing the older that I got, but I wouldn't say that I was a very shy kid. Um, yeah.
Okay, and then your family growing up, like did you have siblings?
So I have three brothers, three younger brothers. I'm the oldest of four kids. My the brother below me is only actually less than 2 years younger than me, and then the brother below him, Isaac, is so my brothers' names are Matthew, Isaac, and Caleb. Matthew is below me, the one I was saying that's less than 2 years younger than me. Isaac is a little over 2 years, or maybe 3 years younger than me. And then Caleb, there's a big gap. Caleb and I are actually 10 years apart. Most of my childhood, I remember being with Matthew and Isaac. Caleb was a little bit too young to kind of grow up with us. Okay, Maddie, I guess I can ask you the same for yourself. Tell me a little bit about your childhood, your family life, maybe where you went to school, where you grew up, things like that.
So when I was born in North Little Rock area. I went to kindergarten in Park Hill. I literally cried every day of
Oh,
school. I'd call my dad and tell him my stomach was hurting. It was horrible. I had a terrible experience. So they wanted us to get out of North Little Rock School District, and so we moved to Sherwood, and that's when I went to Oak Brook from first to fifth grade. I actually met my husband in fifth grade. We were like boyfriend and girlfriend, I guess you could say.
okay, yeah, perfect. Tell me a little bit about, like, more about your family.
So it's just me and my brother Michael. We are like 21 months apart, so we're pretty close in age. Um, and then I grew up with both my parents until about eighth grade. My parents divorced.
Okay, yeah. So like I said, me and Maddie knew of each other in elementary school. We found out later on in life that we were in the same first grade class together, but we never really knew because we weren't very close in elementary school. So we just didn't know much about each other. But moving on to middle school, I was actually homeschooled for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. So I I still had friends because in church I grew up with a lot of close friends that were like my family. So I got a lot of my like relationships and stuff like that from my church friends and family. So, um, but Maddie, you actually went to public school in middle school, so you want to talk a little bit about how that was for you or what that experience was like?
I feel like in elementary school I had a lot more friends, and then middle school, I don't know. It just kind of changed a little bit. I don't know if it was my personality or the girls around me, but I was never the outgoing type. I feel like I was more outgoing as a kid than I was as I got older. I don't know. I think I had a lot of social anxiety, and it was just me and my brother growing up. So I feel like I was more comfortable with boys. Girls were just very complicated, and Middle school was good though. I did have 2 really close friends, that I kind of stuck by, and then, of course, when we met outside of school, we were good friends.
Yeah, honestly, that's funny. I can actually relate to the thing. I mean, I had a lot of really close girlfriends, but I think I always enjoyed some of my guy friends better sometimes just because of the drama that came with having girlfriends sometimes. But of course, each of those relationships are different. But yeah, so we actually in middle school is kind of where our friendship picked up for real. I started playing soccer in like 7th grade when I was homeschooled, and I actually started playing for Sherwood Soccer Club where Maddie's dad was a soccer coach. And at first, I was on a team, and I didn't know anything about the coach. It was a separate team. It wasn't the team that Maddie was on. The team that I was on, I guess you could say, was a team that had a little less skill than the team that Maddie was on, and that was because obviously I was new to soccer. I had practiced some with I think the high school team at Sylvan Hills because we know the coach really well and stuff. But anyway, so I started out on that team, and I guess your dad, I think it was your dad, had seen me playing soccer, or maybe the coach that I had on that team had talked to your dad about it, and they wanted to move me up to the team that Maddie was on. So, anyways, yeah, I moved to that team. We kind of right off the bat talked to each other. You were very
Yeah.
welcoming to me coming to that team and stuff, which I really appreciated. A lot of the
Dad would
girls,
spank me if I didn't. No, I'm just kidding.
a lot of the girls that I met on that team were very sweet, and I loved soccer. I loved being on the same team with you. We like I said, I mean, we just got to know each other very quickly and got close. A lot of
Yeah.
the times, like Maddie and her dad would take me to soccer games and stuff if they were really far away, because my brothers actually played soccer for probably way better teams. Like they would pay to play soccer, and they were very good at soccer because they
Yeah.
started from a young age. So my parents would have to be at different places at different times, and sometimes it didn't work out for them to come to my game. So I would actually ride with Maddie and her dad, and so we just got to know each other through that. And then there would be times where we kind of started having sleepovers and just hanging out more, even though I was homeschooled and she was at the public school.
Yeah, I feel like our personalities just clicked because we both did grow up with just boys, you know what I mean? Like it was just always easy with us. Like it
Yeah.
was never any like drama, or we were just like there for fun and laughter. And then moving on to high school, you actually came to Sylvan Hills.
Yeah,
You were
I stopped I stopped homeschooling in middle school, and my parents put me back in public school at Sylvan Hills High School, and so yeah.
I don't feel like we had a lot of classes together, but we were obviously on the soccer team, and that was like an
Right.
everyday thing after school. Running 2 miles, practicing from like 4 to 6 every single day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I actually went in to my so I went into public school, back into public school for high school, and I went in with my cousin, Emily, who was the same age as me, but she was actually homeschooled all the way up until high school, and so we felt close having each other and going into that. And then I knew, of course, that I had people like Maddie and a couple of the other soccer girls that were on the Sherwood team actually went to Sylvan Hills too. So I felt good about having some people at the school, and like she said, we played soccer again together and got closer through that experience as well. And the soccer coach actually is one of my pastors at my church, and
we love
so
Nate.
yeah, yeah, like she said, there was a lot of running. We would run 2 miles every day for practice, practice hard, and then like at one point he introduced the beep test. Oh my
Oh
goodness, that
gosh.
was rough.
Remember when we like hid the speaker from him that day?
Yeah, so the beep test is like a running test of some sorts, and it's an audio thing. It's like something you can find on YouTube. But basically, it speeds up as you go, and you don't really have much of a break. You're just like sprinting back and forth between cones, and so it was rough. I think I liked running 2 miles better. I don't know about you.
I don't know. It depended on the day. I feel like I would do anything to get out of that 2 mile. I don't know why I was so dramatic about it because it wasn't like I was like terrible. Like I didn't come in last place or anything, but it was just, I don't know,
Maybe
daunting
I
to
feel like
know that.
you've always been a better sprinter. I'm not
Yeah.
much of a sprinter. I like long distance better. I'd rather spread my running out. I'm not a
Yeah.
very fast runner, so I didn't really love sprints. And that's kind of what the beep test is. So yeah, what she was saying is one time he would always bring out this big speaker and put the beep test on there, and that's how we would hear it and know when to run. And one time at practice, me and Maddie and a couple of the other girls that we played with, we were close
Carson.
with, yeah. we took the speaker and actually hid it from Coach Nate, or it feels weird calling him that, but that's what he was, Coach
Yeah.
Nate, and we kind of played a joke on him in that way because we didn't want to do the peep test. Okay, so something funny that I do want to mention that about high school. So my very first day of school, I actually had a lot of classes with Emily. My cousin, we set it up that way so that we would feel comfortable together and stuff. But we
Yeah.
didn't have every class together. And the way they had it at school is they would have three different lunches that were at different times. And so
That's
depending on what,
horrible.
yeah, depending on what your fourth period class was, like depended on what lunch you were going to be in. So
Mhm.
I was actually in a different lunch than Emily. So I knew that was something I was going to have to face alone. So I brought my lunch to school, and Maddie was in. You were in my lunch, but you had a lot of other friends from middle school that I don't think I really knew at that time. And for whatever reason, I just I really wasn't that outgoing. I guess at least in the beginning of high school, I just didn't want to go up to Maddie and ask about sitting with her, and I
That is
didn't want
so
to.
sad.
And maybe there wasn't any seats too available or anything near you. So I remember my first day of school taking my lunch and sitting by a random person and eating by myself. I didn't talk to anyone. I
Oh
just
my
ate my
gosh.
lunch and then was praying that it was going to be over soon.
Yeah.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
that used to be miserable. I remember one year, I don't even know if it was my junior year or something. Either sophomore or junior. I literally had lunch with nobody. And like
Yeah.
I don't even know. I would end up in a teacher's classroom eating because I was like so mortified to eat
Yeah, no,
alone.
it was hard because like if you didn't have many friends, like you just had to find friends to sit with, or
Yeah.
you just wanted to eat alone. Like I actually eventually ended up kind of taking my lunch and eating it in another room some of the time. But we did. Anyways, after that first day, that was rough, and I remember go home and like crying about it
Oh,
because I was so sad that I sat alone. But I think the next day I got courage to go over there and talk to you, and
yeah.
I ended up sitting with you, and that was a
I
fun.
sound like a mean girl.
No, 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 no.
Courage to talk to me.
It was my fault for sure. I was just being insecure and didn't want to get up and say anything. But we sat together from then on out, and we had a fun lunch group. I know Carson was in that group with
Oh,
us. Carson,
Carson is so funny.
and then um, yeah, so we had a good group after that. And
Yeah. Was Brittany with us in that lunch?
I
I
don't
don't know. I
know.
feel like those were my two like closest friends going into high school was
Hmm.
Carson and Brittany because eighth grade year we literally had every single class together. Our teachers hated to see us coming, like it was bad, but
Yeah,
we had so much fun.
and I didn't really know Brittany very well just because I didn't go to the middle school. But I knew Carson because she played on that
Yeah,
team with us. So I actually met Carson too around the same time that I met you, and kind of befriended her too as well. So
yeah.
okay, Maddie, I'm curious. Can you talk a little bit about some of your like friendships in high school and maybe other relationships that you had throughout high school?
I didn't have many friends. Not gonna, sugarcoat that. Um, I like I said, I went into high school with Carson and Brittany. We were really close because eighth grade we were like the trio or whatever. Um, but you know, I guess I don't really know. I just didn't really have a lot of classes with a lot of or either of them the more high school went on. But I told you that in 5th grade is when I met my husband and we were boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever. We had always been friends throughout middle school. Well, in 10th grade, that's when we like officially started dating. Um and it was like a roller coaster. We were both young and immature, you know. So yeah, after we started dating, I mostly just hung out with him. We hung out like pretty much every day after soccer, whenever. We only lived like 4 minutes from each other, so we were like really close. So dad, before I started driving, would like drop me off at his house, or his mom would drop him off at our house, and we'd just hang out, and play Uno.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I remember Dustin actually in or not in middle school, sorry, in elementary school because he
Really?
came in late to the
Yeah,
game,
in
like
fifth grade,
fourth grade or
he
something,
was
fifth
new.
grade. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember like seeing him on the basketball court and stuff. Guess playing. He was the new kid, so
He was
everybody.
the cute new kid. All
Yeah.
the girls oohed and awed over him. Um, he wasn't in my class at first in 5th grade. He was in Miss DeGaule's class,
Ooh, yeah.
but he went home crying,
Oh
little
man.
crybaby.
Yeah, that was a rough teacher.
So they transferred him into Miss Fitzgibbon class, and then we didn't sit next to each other at first, and I like the boy that I was sitting next to kept copying my paper, and I snitched on him,
Oh.
and Miss Fitzgibbon moved me by Destin.
That is
and
so funny.
that's when like we started talking. But
Yeah.
anyways, that's like totally off subject.
No, no.
What
I
were we
mean, I
talking
went
about?
back to it, but in high school, I was going to say too. Obviously, we were close, so we hung out a lot too. But I just always remember you guys being together on like snow days and like throughout the summer. You know, having your pool
Yeah.
days with each other. And I was like, man, that would be so fun to have.
Yeah,
That
it was
relationship.
fun. I feel like after high school when we broke up, I was like, man, I just spent my whole high school with this one guy and we're not even together anymore. I don't even have any friends really. I had a couple friends, close friends. I'm more of like a personal person. Like I don't have like a lot of friends. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I just have like a couple like really close friendships.
Yeah.
I've always just been that way.
Right. No, there's some. I know what you're saying. Some people have like acquaintances, a lot of
Yeah.
acquaintances that they would consider friends, and then maybe they have a closer group of closer circle of friends, but you just like to keep that close knit group.
Yeah, I'm just so like I'm not outgoing at all. I'm shy, and so I feel like a
You're
lot of
outgoing when you get to know you. Like
I
if you know her
yeah,
well,
I'm
she's
really
very outgoing.
goofy and like silly and stupid. So I might just be like too weird for people. I don't
Oh,
know.
whatever.
Um, but yeah, I had a lot. I feel like I struggled with friendships a lot. Girls were not very nice to me, but I don't know. Okay, so I spent all my high school with Dustin, hanging out with him. So what was your like relationships like, Missy?
Okay. So in high school, my parents made a rule for me that they didn't want for me and my brothers that they didn't want us to date in high school. They just thought
Smart.
that time was kind of we were
Yeah.
young and not very mature then, and they
Oh, for
just
sure.
didn't even think that I don't know, didn't think that much would come out of a high school relationship. Although I will say my parents are high school sweethearts.
That's so
So
funny.
but anyway, so yeah, my parents kind of made the rule for us not to they would prefer us not to date in high school. So
So you didn't like any boys?
oh, I liked boys. Man, some of the boys I had crushes on, I do regret. But
I
it's
know.
funny to kind of look back on those things now, being
Yeah.
married and stuff, and you can kind of joke about it. Obviously, we were together and we were friends during that time, so we know like each
Oh,
who
yeah.
we each liked and the things we went through with boys and stuff like that. But I definitely had some school crushes. I mean, that's
Did any
unavoidable.
boys break your heart even though you weren't like allowed to date
Oh my
them?
goodness. um I wouldn't say that I was ever like super heartbroken.
Yeah.
There was times where of course I was sad. I mean, like I don't know. I think that one thing for me was like I respected my parents so much
Yeah.
just because I feel like they always gave me the respect. Respect as a kid even, and like they gave me freedom too. Like even though
Mhm.
my parents were strict, or most people would say they were strict, I appreciated the way that they kind of raised us. Obviously, I guess I didn't mention this earlier, but I grew up in a Christian household, and so I mean, I got saved. I was probably 12 when I got saved at church camp, but my parents were Christians. They raised us to know and love the Lord, and they just always, I felt like, showed me enough respect. Even though I was a kid, they showed me some respect,
Yeah.
and yeah, they gave me freedom because I showed them respect back, and so I had the rules not to date in high school and stuff, but I really followed those just because I respected my parents, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I think if I didn't have respect for them, it would have been a lot harder for me to follow that, or like I would have been maybe bitter with them about it and
Mhm.
stuff. But I can honestly say there wasn't really much of a time that I was ever bitter with my parents over that. I don't think that I had much of a problem. I mean, maybe the Lord was saving me in that way to where, I mean, there was
Yeah.
probably guys that I thought I wanted to date then, but I never did, obviously, because I didn't want to go
There
against my
wasn't a
parents.
very large selection of
Yeah, at Silver
good,
Hills.
boys.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I had guy friends too that I was
yeah.
close to. Maybe some of those were my crushes at some points, but no, I mean, I had good guy friends too, and
We've talked about this before, but I think we both have like a guilty conscience. So like
yeah,
if
for sure.
we're not supposed even without the Lord's hand on, our like personal convictions, I feel like we're just wired that way.
Yeah,
So
no,
I'm sure that helped you
yeah, for sure.
too, just to like you don't want to like make anyone upset or mad at you. You don't want to be in trouble for anything. So that's probably
Yeah,
helped
no, I
teach
feel
him.
like I've always had that guilty conscience. Even as a kid, I would never
Yeah.
want to like do anything to hurt my parents' feelings or make them mad at me or upset with me.
Right.
But all right, back to the relationship thing. I don't think that there was ever any like real heartbreak. There was some heavy crushing going on for sure, but I mean, why are you laughing? She's like, I could say otherwise, but I mean, there was a time where there
In the
was a
locker room.
guy. What'd you say?
In the locker room.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's not talk about that. Oh man, there was a guy that I liked, and it
Peter.
was throughout high school. Peter, that's the name we're gonna use for him. But yeah, she's talking about a guy that I liked for a long time in high school, and we were in the locker room before a game or something, a soccer game, and I think it was raining, and maybe we were in there kind of waiting it out, waiting to start our game for the
Yeah.
rain to kind
It
of
was
calm
like
down.
delay or something.
Yeah, so I somehow had found out that this guy, he had a girlfriend at the time, and that they had broken up or something. And this is so terrible of me, but I remember just like telling Maddie and them, and I was like kind of cheering. I was excited, like I was ever gonna date that person anyways. It's silly, but it's like, oh, your crush is no longer with the girl. You're kind of
Yeah.
have that
Oh,
false
she was
hope.
like hysterically crying at one point.
Oh
Do you
my
remember that? You were
No.
crying.
Me? Oh my
Yes.
goodness, so dramatic.
No, but it was
No, I mean
funny.
it's things like that that you can look back on and laugh now. Obviously,
No,
being
I
married and
would change so much. So much. I could go back. I'm like, if only you knew, but you don't know.
yeah,
That's the
right,
thing. Like, I don't
right.
know.
And I mean, the Lord puts people in your life for a reason. Maybe
Yeah.
just for a season too. Oh, sorry, that was I knocked the mic there, but for a season, and that's okay. But anyways, no, I never had any like dating relationships. I respected my parents enough. I chose not to enter any kind of relationship. Or there was a point where there was a boy from church camp that I thought that I really liked as a kid. I mean, of course, you're just immature. You don't know what
Mhm.
love is. You don't know what I don't know. So
No,
I
and that's like a really good story. Like, I met my husband at church camp. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like that was
Yeah.
a
Although I don't know that this guy was a Christian. Sadly, he might have been an unbeliever going to church camp, but I don't know. He was real sweet to me and stuff at camp, so I really thought that I just liked this guy. It was so silly, but my parents again had this rule, and I remember I would like talk to him sneakily. I would get on my friend's Facebook page and talk to him that way and stuff. Oh my goodness. But there came a point in time where I had been talking to him for a while, and I thought, you know what, this is not right. Like I shouldn't be doing this. My parents have asked me not to date. I'm like crossing some boundaries that I wish I wouldn't cross by forming some kind of relationship with this guy. So, anyways, I remember my guilty conscience just got the best of me, and I felt so bad about it. I went up to my mom and I was crying, and I said, Mom, I've been talking to this guy and you guys don't know about it. I feel bad doing it behind your back. I know you've asked me not to do this, so I just wanted to kind of, I don't know, confess to you or tell you
yeah.
tell you about it, make you aware, and that my parents gained even more respect for me in doing that. Like just even when I was going against kind of their wishes, I had a guilty enough conscience to go up to them and like, tell them about it and stuff. So, yeah. That's kind of what my relationships, I guess, were like in high school. I had a lot of friends. I had you. Well, I say that. I had you, and I had my cousins. Rebecca and Emily were there, and actually Abby was in high school too at one point with us. So I had them and I had Gracie, who was
Yeah.
my maid of honor and my childhood best friend, and Anna, of course, also one of my childhood best friends. We all were in school together, so I felt comfortable having them, and then having you as a friend. I felt like it helped me get through a lot of the tough times in high school and stuff, of course. So you kind of pointed out some of my relationship history. Not really relationship, but crushes in high school. So now Destin wasn't your only relationship in high school. So talk a little bit more about
Oh
that.
boy. In ninth grade, freshman year, before me and Dustin started dating, uh, I don't even know what you would call that. It was a relationship, I guess. We
Yeah,
dated for
no,
like
y'all
two
did it.
months or something. It's weird because like I was so heartbroken, but I think it was because I was like betrayed. I don't
Uh
know.
huh.
I think it
Yeah.
was more like that than. And like when you're young, you think you love these people and you
Mhm.
don't. And you like later on you're like that was not love.
Right.
Like but in the moment you're like, "Oh my gosh, I love this person. Like I'm in love with this person." So, I don't know. I've heard people say like you have like three loves in your life or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
One that's like teach. I don't know what the saying is. I'll have to like,
No, I know what you're talking about. I've heard it for sure.
But yeah, I think that was one that hurt really bad. I was like super devastated, but he cheated on me. But it taught me a lot. Like I feel like I found out who like my real friends were through all that. I mean, there's no like bad blood or anything, you know.
Yeah.
It happened for a reason. I'm glad it happened, obviously.
No, yeah, I remember it. I felt terrible for you seeing you go through that and the heartbreak. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just like, it's more of like, why could you not have just broken up with me and then
Right.
done what you did? Like, why did you have to?
Yeah.
Like,
She. I
how were you
mean,
not thinking about me in that moment? Like, am I that like little? I don't know. I just felt so,
betrayed. And yeah. I mean, you
yeah,
give your trust to one person and think that you're giving your heart to them too, and just for them to kind of turn their backs on you. That's hard.
yeah. And he was my first boyfriend, and I feel like those, besides your situation, I guess, are just you're just like goo goo gaga kind of.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's not real.
It's just new. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like a puppy love type
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah.
So overall, I think that we can both kind of agree that we didn't love high school. I don't know.
No,
Maybe it was just the fact that we had to sit in classrooms for hours. We were at school for eight
yeah,
hours. But then you go to college and it's just like completely different. So,
yeah.
yeah, moving on to college. I honestly did not know where I wanted to go to school. I mean, it was probably the January before I graduated in May.
Mhm.
Was that when? Maybe it was our junior year. But we went,
No,
no, it
it
wasn't. It
was
was
our
senior.
senior year
Yeah, so
because, yeah,
they made us go to these college fairs and well, they didn't make you, but you would go to a college fair in high school. It was like a field trip. You would go to this big like event center and there would be a bunch of colleges there that were recruiting students, they're sharing more about their school and scholarship opportunities and stuff like that. So that was the first time I think I really even thought seriously about college. I think for the longest time, for whatever reason, I really wanted to go to OBU, Ouachita Baptist
yeah,
University. That was in Arkadelphia. I don't know why. Maybe just because I knew it was a Christian school, and I don't know what was so
mhm.
appealing about it. So that was kind of where I
Mine
had.
was UCA because my dad
Yes.
went there, or University of Arkansas in Fort Smith because
Oh,
I wanted to be a nurse.
yeah, that's
Isn't
right.
that
You
funny?
did. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Well, did you wanted to be a neonatal or?
labor and delivery
Oh my
nurse. Yeah,
goodness, that's
so
hilarious. Yeah,
funny.
I do remember that. So we went to this college fair. All of our senior class went, and you just walk around and talk to the different schools that you may be interested in, or maybe that you've never heard of, and you just want to know more about the school. So I remember after that college fair, really the whole time I was there, I was like, oh, where's OBU? Like looking for the school
Yeah,
that I thought I really wanted to go to. There was a lot of schools that I had never heard of that I got to hear more about, which was nice. But there was one school in particular that stuck out, and it was Central Baptist College, and I had never heard of it before, which is silly of me because my aunt, my
grandma.
grandma's sister, that whole family's pretty close, and so like I talked to her a lot. But my grandma's sister had been working there at the time,
Yeah,
and she had worked there for a long time. I just never knew what her job was. So I didn't really know much about CBC, but the guy that was there talking about it seemed really nice, and just the scholarship opportunities he was talking about, like, I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing. So I don't know why, maybe it was the Lord, but that school really kind of stuck on my mind. And then I remember talking to you after about it, and you actually had mentioned the exact same school, and I thought, wow, that's interesting. So
yeah. So I went and toured UCA with Brittany and Scarlett because they used to excuse you
yeah,
from school
yeah,
if you
right,
went to visit. Anyway, so we all like went up there, and they were just like head over heels for this school UCA, and I was just like so overwhelmed. Like I remember like going back home and I like wanted to cry. I was like, I don't feel like that is where, but they were so excited about it. So I was excited about it, but then like I just had this gut feeling. So then I remember like CBC. I've never even heard about it before, but I remember that. So I told my dad, I was like, I want to go tour this school just to see, like, because after UC, I just did not feel right. UCA, I did not feel right. And then once I toured CBC, it was like you can feel the presence of the Lord there. It's so
hmm,
weird because I just felt right at home.
right,
But it might have just been the Lord like telling me this is where you're supposed to be and making it that way. But and then I remember like telling you, I was like, we should room together, like
yeah,
you would
no,
love it. And then you toured.
Yeah, so you actually, I didn't even, you were that kind of person though. I'm not that kind of person. You took initiative and you were like, I like this school. I'm going to go tour it. I didn't even think about doing that. I'm just
Yeah.
so not very good at planning things. So, anyways, yeah, you went to tour it. And what's funny is that UCA and CBC are actually both in Conway, right down the road from each other. But
Right.
I went to tour. I had a wonderful tour guide. She was so sweet. I felt, like you said, I just felt so at home. And the
Mhm.
people there were just so welcoming.
It's a
Everything.
very small college.
Yeah, yeah, that's another thing. It's
Yeah.
different from your big, like you didn't really like UCA because of how big it was and spread out, and just
Right.
there's so much there. CBC is the complete opposite. I mean, it would take you about 3 minutes to get from the dorms
Yeah.
there on campus to your class. So, yeah, that's something else I loved. It felt more like a family there. It was
Mhm.
just close knit and small, and all the teachers that I talked to and stuff just talked to me like I was had been in their class or something.
Yeah.
So that was something I appreciated about CBC. But I went into it thinking maybe I would try to get an academic scholarship and just go based off my ACT score, which really was not that high. So I think I was 1 point below like getting a better scholarship. And so it was kind of like my plan was just to take the ACT again and get a better score and get a better academic scholarship. So anyways, as I was touring, the people take you around to kind of talk to different departments and stuff. And my tour guide had asked me, like, is there anything that you do for fun, like hobbies or whatever? And I said, oh, I play soccer right now in high school. And I'm also in choir because I was in high school choir. And so, anyway, she was like, oh, you know what? Our choir teacher's actually here right now. If you wanted to go by and meet him. And I'm like, oh, sure, whatever. Why not? So we went and I met the choir teacher, and it was so weird. I guess, like you said, it was just like a God thing. I don't know.
Mhm.
I remember going home from this tour and just feeling like, wow, thank you, Lord, for like showing me,
Yeah.
like, you've so clearly given me this opportunity. So I ended up, the choir teacher decided to, on a whim, just have me try out for choir. And I was like,
On your
oh,
tour.
yes, on my tour. I was like, oh my goodness. I was not prepared in any
Right.
way. I was so thrown off. And I thought,
Did you
okay.
think that you would do choir in college?
Oh, no,
You
no.
were just like that was
No,
just how
yeah.
it
I
was.
didn't even think about really doing soccer, I don't think. I think I just
Oh
wanted
no,
to
I was
go
done.
into it. I just wanted to go into it, I think, with getting an academic scholarship and just
Yeah.
having the college experience that way. I don't know.
Right.
So, yeah, I never even thought about doing choir or anything. So, on the spot, he just had me sing Amazing Grace, and
That's
that
so
was my
funny.
audition. And my mom and I sat down and talked with him after, and he literally, right on the spot, offered me a amazing scholarship. And I just thought, like, this is a sign. This is what the Lord
Yeah.
wants me to do. I feel it so heavily. I remember just it was the whole evening I was just excited because I was like, this is where I'm going to school. Like,
Mhm.
I can't wait to go to school now. Like, I'm excited. This is what I know I want to do. So yeah, that's kind of how I got a scholarship and ended up going to CBC. And I think you had a better ACT score than me. So
Did I?
I think you had that 1 point higher than the one that I
Oh.
needed, and so it put you at a getting a lot better scholarship. So, and what's funny is in college, I mean, the somehow the soccer coach there, I mean, it's a small school, so I guess
Oh
word gets around
gosh.
quickly. We were already at school when this happened,
Yeah.
and I was already on a choir scholarship. Technically, I was in choir and stuff.
No,
Somehow,
it was through my dad. My
oh,
dad came across one of the coaches for CBC at a classic something. You know
tournament
how
or something. Yeah, like scouting place.
yeah, well, he like ran into that coach and dad of course was like, "Well, you know my daughter, Anna Elizabeth, play soccer. You should talk to her."
Yeah, I mean,
And so
yeah.
then he whatever texted us and
We went to
boy,
his
that lasted about one practice.
we went to his office together, didn't we? And talked
Oh,
to him, or was it
yes.
separate?
No, we
No, we
did.
went in there together, and he
That
had.
old
Well, what
yucky
happened
building.
was he first invited us to practice, and we
Yeah.
went to practice, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we fit in pretty well there. I don't know if I mean CBC is an NAIA school, so it's not like they're
Yeah.
D1, D2. They're not like out of this
Oh, but
world
I
players.
felt so like I was out of shape
Oh
and it
yeah,
had
for
only
sure,
been
me too.
cuz I mean, it was a couple months after we had been in
Yeah,
college. It
we had
wasn't
all
like right
summer.
away.
Yeah,
Yes, summer. Oh my gosh.
yeah. So
I was
we
like so out of shape.
Yeah, I was out of shape too. I remember dying at
Yeah,
practice.
I
But
was
I
like,
mean, honestly, still, we kept up with the girls pretty well, I'd say. And they had
yeah,
been training all throughout summer because they already
right.
had their scholarships and stuff. So that was kind of like oh, do we want to do soccer moment? But I think we both had talked about it. And we were like, this is not.
No.
And my thing was, I had already gotten that scholarship opportunity. To me, it felt like I would be turning my back on the choir teacher. And I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, they didn't offer very much.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily worth it for one, and for two, we were like having so much fun. Like
Yeah.
we didn't want anything else to take away from like our
Yeah. No,
naps.
true. Oh my goodness, freshman
Staying up
year.
all night,
Yes. Freshman
napping.
I
Yeah.
think we would both say that freshman year of college was one of our, like, best
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
years of our lives, like
Highlight. If, like, we had a highlight reel, it would be, like, freshman year of college,
yes.
like,
Oh my goodness. We met so
it was
many.
so much fun.
So at CBC, because they're small school, they do things a little bit different. So like their orientation, the way it works is all of the new incoming freshmen come to school like a week earlier than everybody else.
Yep.
And they have like a whole week full of like
It's
activities and
like church camp kinda.
yeah, it is. It's like a yeah, some kind of camp. You play games. First of all, you're split into different teams. So each of the freshmen, there's like four different colored teams, and you're randomly put on those teams. So me and Maddie were not on the same team. We were
No,
kind of
and
sad about
you had
that.
to drag me to go to that. Remember? I was like, "I
Yes.
don't wanna go."
Yes.
That is so, like,
Right.
embarrassing, like, yeah,
I mean, I was used to doing stuff like that because I went to church camp my whole
right.
life growing up, in the summer. So it was something that I loved.
Mhm.
But yeah, they would have. I mean, they had trivia nights. They had like what was that thing? It was like they called it the Hunger Games or something, and they would put a bunch of like balls and bats and random like weapons or
Pool
what was it?
noodles,
Yes,
like
and you would have to like hit the other person with one of those things to get them
yeah.
out
It
or
was a bunch of,
something.
like, yard games.
Yeah, capture the flag at night. We played
Yeah.
that. That was really fun. Just stuff like that. Bingo or minute to win it. I remember doing minute to win it. It's kind of an icebreaker thing for the freshman class to get to know each other a little
Right.
bit before you're just thrown into classes together and stuff. And it's just really, I think, a good way of making you feel comfortable at the
Yeah.
school and
Yeah.
and not
We
yeah
weren't that far from home, so
right
we didn't, and we had each other coming in.
yeah
But I don't know what we would, well, you would probably be fine. I don't know what I would do if
no
I went into college by
no I
myself,
think
like,
I would
without
struggle
that, just think
yeah
about that. But that's how normal colleges do it. You
yeah
just go to class and,
And the
like,
roommate thing. So yeah,
oh
we were
gosh.
roommates
Yeah,
obviously because we went in together and we
they
immediately
hated
signed
us.
up to be
I'm just kidding.
roommates. We were the loudest one on our hall and we somehow
Yes.
got the tiniest room on the whole floor. We still swear by that to this
No, it
day. I mean,
was.
we could barely fit our beds in there right with
Yes.
it was crazy, but we were something. I mean, we were always laughing and
No, like,
being crazy. So,
a couple years later, Skylar was
yeah.
next to us. She ended up, like, telling me, like, confessing. She was like, me and my roommate could not stand y'all because y'all were so
No,
loud.
we were
We
so
would just
bad, but
laugh, and
yeah.
my laugh is loud, like,
Minus two.
so.
College, I don't know. I guess we could talk a little more about college. Do you have some things that you like memories from college and cuz we both agree we loved college. Like, I don't know. It was just so much different than high
Yes.
school.
Well, okay, so I will say me and my now husband had broken up right before we graduated high school. So we were not together. So this was the first time I was single,
That's right.
you know,
Yeah.
really since 8th grade, basically,
Right.
because freshman year, I mean, I didn't date him very long, but I did have a boyfriend. And then 10th grade, me and Dustin started dating.
Yeah.
10th, 11th, 12th, and then we things got a little bit rocky and we broke up right before it. So all summer, I went into college single and I didn't have very many friends because I'd spent basically all of high school with just pouring my time and effort into my relationship with Dustin, and it obviously didn't work out for a moment. When we went into college after that orientation thing, we like made so many friends, and like it's different how college is. Like you're friends with people that from all different backgrounds,
Right.
places, and I feel like in high school it's so much more clicky,
Mhm.
and it was just so refreshing to be in an
A
environment where
clean
it
slate.
was
It's like a
yeah,
clean slate when
yeah,
you
it
go into
really
college.
was. And I don't know, we just really were friends with everybody. And no matter what, like who they were, like we had a
Yeah,
lot of friends.
we
And that
did.
was like a new thing for me. Like I wasn't really a lot of friend person. I just had
Yeah,
like
I
a
mean,
couple.
we would hang out with anyone and everyone all the time. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's like I don't know.
I
It's
have
just
pictures and I'm like, we were with that person in the car, like bowling with,
bowling. Yeah. Oh my
so many
goodness.
like random people.
Yeah, I mean the whole class too. It wasn't like just us. It was like the whole class
No.
just formed
Yeah.
this friendship, like this bond, and it was so
Mhm.
fun. And I think what them doing the whole Mud Week thing at CBC really, I mean, plays a big part in that because even after just the Mud Week, things kind of slowed down. Like you're
Yeah.
not you don't talk to as many people as you did during that
Right.
week, but you still talk to a lot of them. So
And there was a lot of people that like didn't show up for Mud Week that would be in your classes that you're like, oh,
Right.
Who are
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, so Mud Week wasn't really a required thing. There was a couple assemblies that we had to attend that were like information about the school, dress code, or handbook. Sorry, not dress code, the handbook
Yes, we
there.
had dress
We
code in
did have a dress
college.
code, but they had a handbook and they went over that. Stuff like that that you were required to go to, but all the little games and stuff like that, you didn't have to go. It wasn't a requirement, but
Yeah.
they had leaders, team leaders that were class like upperclassmen people that would encourage you to come out and stuff because
Mhm.
they were the leader of the teams and they wanted to win. So yeah. So we did meet a lot of other people, I think, outside of Mud Week too. We had a lot of college classes together our freshman year, right? I mean,
Yeah, we did.
and we always sat by each other. We got in trouble for talking in class one
Oh
time.
gosh, that was so
Oh
embarrassing.
man, that was our
In
Bible
Bible
class.
class.
That was bad. We had this Bible class together, and our teacher was literally the sweetest man
Sweetest
ever.
man.
Sweetest man. But the thing is, I will say, everyone in that class would talk. Like, people
Yeah.
would be on their phone watching movies. College is just so different from high school.
Right.
Like, you can have your phone out, and a lot of the classes and teachers aren't going to get on to you. Stuff like that.
Which high school now, I guess they can have their phones.
Yeah,
It's
probably. Yeah,
so
but in high school,
stupid.
like if you had your phone out, you were going to
Yeah,
get in
like we were
trouble,
used to
like
that.
detention or
Right.
something. I mean, I will say we were talking, and
Oh, yes.
I mean,
We
but
were in front
everyone
the
around
front
us
row
was
though.
talking. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were up front. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Everyone around us was talking, but I guess we were the first ones to be noticed, and he never said anything to us in class, but
No.
after class, we both went back to our dorm room and we looked and we saw we had an email from him and we thought, "Oh no." Sure enough, we opened the email and he was just he it was the most nicest way
Yep.
possible he could have said it too, but he just had said something about us talking in class, maybe being disruptive or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I was crying. I felt so bad
Oh, I'm
cuz
sure.
I mean, you too, I'm sure we never got
Yes.
in trouble in like
No.
elementary, high school, any of that. Like,
Uh-huh.
and to get in trouble in college, you're like, that is so embarrassing. We were so embarrassed, but also, yeah, we loved that teacher, so it wasn't. I don't know. I
He
just felt
forgave us
bad.
quickly.
Oh yeah, for sure. But okay, so we had a lot of friends, and like we've been saying in college, but there were some that stood out more than others, and maybe in other ways other than friendship. But do you want to share a little bit about some of those for you?
Um, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I had a little bit of a crush on somebody. It didn't work out for the better though. I feel like when me and Dustin broke up, I all summer I had just like gone through this horrible heartache because my true love had broken my heart and like I didn't know what I was supposed to do. But then I feel like college healed me in a lot of ways cuz the Lord was like first of all showing me that I was going to be okay by myself for a little while.
Right.
That I didn't need, a boy,
Yeah.
but also like the friendships that we formed and stuff was, refreshing just to have other people around me. Okay, then there was this one fellow that caught my attention.
Fellow.
Feller. It was just a little, I don't even know.
Short lasted thing.
Silly. Yeah,
Yeah.
short thing. But I feel like that hurt too. I don't know. I'm so sensitive.
Well, as humans, we have these attachments whether we want to or
Yes.
not with people in our
Yeah.
lives, and it's like you can't help but feel hurt when things like
Yeah.
that happen, even if they were in your life for a short time or with friends too. I mean, friendships, not just relationships. There's a lot of friendships that I grieve and cuz those people are so close to you for even if it's just a short amount of time, you're like, "Wow, they knew so much about me. They got to know me." I don't know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
I think I have problems too. When people leave,
mhm,
it hurt. I don't know. I have like because it's like they seem to care about me and yet they leave.
right.
Like, why am I not enough for you to stay? You know what I mean? Like, and then it's all I put it towards my fault. I make it my fault. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not funny enough. I'm not, you
And some of
know.
those things maybe even come from like our childhood, things that we went through, or I mean, I don't know. There's maybe things that shaped us to who we are today. I mean, I know there's things that happened to me growing up that kind of shaped who I am, and in certain ways, whether I want to be that way or not. Like I'm such an emotional person. My goodness, I used to growing up. I would, hey, and my friends admit to this day, but my church friends, my close girlfriends, there would make fun of me as a kid, and I don't know why. They don't know why to this day. We still joke about it, of course, all the time now, but we're just like I was so emotional and I was hurt. And so
Yeah.
now I think even as an adult sometimes with my friendships or people that I've let close to me, I get offended by things for no reason. Just because I'm emotional and I take what people say seriously sometimes even when I don't need to. That's off
Yeah.
soft subject, but
No, I get that totally. I'm an emotional person too, which I don't like to be. It's weird because like the older I've gotten, the better I've handled my emotions. I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm okay to be, but I feel like growing up, we were always, or I always hid my emotions. Like I wanted to be tough for my dad, and
right.
I didn't want him to have to worry about me.
Yeah. So we kind of got off subject there. That's my fault. I always do little rabbit trails. But we had a lot of the same friends too in college.
Yeah, and okay, so your rule for your parents was you're not allowed to date in
Yeah, in
high
high
school.
school. And
So
honestly, they never really told me to my face, like, okay, now's the time, like, you can date in college. But they never
yeah,
said, we would like you not to date in college. So it was kind of like I felt that freedom from then, kind of like I didn't feel that they were going to be mad or upset if I was getting to know someone in college. Like, it wasn't really known to be something that I
did
couldn't
you get
do.
to know somebody in college?
And matter of fact, I did. So yeah, we had a group of us that were close friends, would hang out all the time, but there were some of us that stuck. And I think in the beginning when I went to college, there was honestly like there was two guys that I liked and like at the same time simultaneously. It was terrible, but it was
No,
like,
I did too.
but I don't know if it was something that maybe I was a little more out there about my emotions because I felt a little more freedom, but it wasn't like I was just throwing myself at them. I'm
No,
not that kind of
no, no,
person
no, no, no.
anyways. But there was two guys that I liked, and one of them professed to be a believer, I think, and then the other one was not a believer at all.
No.
We had some close friends. We had one of our friends that her name's Lexi. She was like our best friend, and she was actually
Yes.
my roommate in the sophomore year of college after you went home to live at home. So yeah, she is a character.
Oh, love
She
Lexi.
is so fun. She is I don't even know how to describe her. A
I know.
firecracker? I don't know. She's just
Yeah,
so outgoing and
yeah.
she's treats the
Very
ones
deep.
yeah, yeah, the people that are close to her, she's very emotional with, like sweet. I don't know. She would make you feel good about yourself all the time. She knew how to lift people up and encourage you well and she loved the Lord, so yeah, she was always like a good
And she
shoulder to
was
lean
fun.
on.
Like she did not care. Like we would just do
Yeah.
whatever. Like she
She
was
was
very
unapologetically
adventurous.
herself.
Like yeah,
Yeah, for sure. No, she would be the type of person to scream out random things while we were in the store to try to embarrass us, but
yes.
that's just who she was. And so,
She nicknamed me Mandy.
yeah, I mean, she would write us letters and notes in
Yeah.
class just to encourage us and lift us up throughout the day and stuff.
Hmm.
And like if we were going through things in college, she would give us advice. Like she knew how to
Yeah.
talk very well. Like she
Yes.
spoke very well. That was one of our close friends. And then we also had a guy friend, Dawson.
Yes.
He was one of our close friends, but everybody always thought one of us was dating him. But he's just like was silly and goofy, and
Yeah.
he I don't know, he just liked to hang out with us, so we hung out with him sometimes. He was from Conway, so he kind of would show us some of Conway, and
No,
so
we were with him every day. I
yeah,
feel like we were with him more than anybody else
yeah.
in
He
the
was the type
beginning,
of
at
person
least.
that just like wanted to hang out with people too. Like he
Yes.
wanted to. I don't
Remember,
know.
we were taking a nap and he kept calling both of us,
Yes.
and we were like, he was like, "Come on, come downstairs," and we're like,
Leave us
"No,
alone.
we're
I mean,
asleep."
and he would do crazy stuff. Like he would took us to this abandoned house one
Yeah.
time. We had to hike to, and we went. Oh my goodness, that was something.
There's a video of me like griping at him because we were like climbing up this mountain in my Jesus sandals,
Yeah.
and like I'm like tripping over rocks
Oh
and
my
stuff, and I'm
goodness.
like, "Bro, you didn't even tell me we were about to climb like Mount
Yeah.
Everest."
And then, of course, we had Keegan. And Keegan is actually my husband now. I married
Yeah.
Keegan. So Keegan was one of the guys that I liked, and he was not a believer when he came to college. But literally, when I met him the first day that we had orientation, like the day we moved in and everything.
I remember you. I think you had gone downstairs or something. I hadn't seen
Yes.
him yet, and you came back up, and I don't remember where we were exactly, but you were like, "Bro, there was this guy down there, and his eyes are so beautiful." And then, like later on, I think that night, because everyone was like hanging out in the lobby or something,
Mhm.
you were like showing me him, and I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah. No, I actually remember him specifically from like okay, so when we first did a move-in day, we had to go and get like our ID badge. What did we call those? Our cards that had we
Our
took a
IDs.
picture. Yeah, it was like an ID. They,
That's how you got in every
yes,
building and stuff.
CBC was a very safe college. That was something else they like were proud of about the schools that they had. Like to get into the dorms and stuff, you had to have your ID to scan.
Remember when
Otherwise,
we let those random people in that one time?
yes.
They
See,
thought
you
it was
had
a
to have it.
jail.
Yes. Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
gosh.
No, you would like you can't get in unless you have an ID. So it was
Yeah.
kind of hard because you would always have to remember to grab your ID, even if you were running to your car to get something,
Yeah.
whatever. So, anyways, we had to get those at the beginning on move-in day. That was like something we did before we could ever move in. And I remember into the little office where we took our picture and being in line, and I saw him, and I thought, that guy's kind of cute. I like how he looks. And so that's kind of where I first noticed him, and just was like, I don't know. I just thought he was cute. That's about it. But then, so yeah, and then I mentioned him to Maddie, I'm sure later on. But when I was downstairs, somehow I had met him. He just, if you know Keegan, you know how he is.
You know.
I thought that I was outgoing. Okay, I thought that I was friendly. Talk to everybody. My husband has never met a stranger, let me tell you. And so that's
And
how
he
he
just like
was.
put you in a chokehold. Then
Yes.
just 2 minutes after meeting, and you're like, "Is this guy joking
or
me?"
you'll meet him one time and he'll come and give you the biggest hug next time he
Yeah.
sees you. Like, that's just
Yeah.
how he is. I don't know. So I
No, he
remember.
had a choking problem though. Do you remember that?
Yes.
He just
He
be
was
like,
he was just aggressive. So aggressive for no reason. But so I met him down in the lobby with a group of other people, I guess, and he just came up to me and said something. I don't even know what he said, honestly. I wish I knew, but maybe he just introduced himself. He was just acting a fool, and literally the first thing I said to him is, "You're crazy." So that's what I remember about him is I just said, "Wow, you're crazy." And then I think later on we were up. I think it was that night, that same night. Maybe it was after we had hung out with them. We ended up going downstairs and he was there, and we just talked with them down in the lobby and stuff for a little while. And I remember going up to our room and we were hanging out in there, and I
and
was
it
like,
was only girls allowed in our dorms, by the way.
yeah, yeah. So
So it
CBC
was
was a private
separated.
school, yeah, and they
So
had,
we always had to hang out like off campus, but we had a curfew.
uh huh,
But Mud Week we didn't. It
yeah.
was like,
Yeah, so we
come and
had
go.
curfew. It was midnight every weekday. There was no curfew on the weekends,
Yeah.
but and then we had a girl's side and a guy's side, and there was doors at the end of the hall that you had to scan your ID badge to get into those doors
Yes.
to get to the hall where your room was. And obviously, if there was a guy's ID that was scanned at the end of the hall, it
And there
would
was
alert them.
cameras
Yeah, there
too.
was
They would like,
cameras.
you know,
Yeah, so they
watch.
kept a good watch on those kind of things. That was just something they could do as a private school. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
part of it. So, yeah, we were in our room, just me and Maddie hanging out, and I saw that somebody had added me on Snapchat, and it was Keegan. He had like some weird name. Maybe it was Keegan on there. But anyways, I said, oh, Maddie, I said, this guy, how did he get my Snapchat? Is what
Yeah.
I was saying. And I guess there was another guy that we had befriended. Was it Logan? I think it was Logan. We
Yeah.
had just befriended him, and maybe he somehow added us. I don't know. But anyways, he gave it to Keegan. I guess Keegan asked him for my Snapchat, and I was like, how did he find my Snapchat? I was so confused. I was like, what in the world? But I was kind of flattered because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this guy, I kind of think he's
He
cute.
like pursued
But
you
in the back of
first
my
a
mind,
little
I
bit.
knew. I mean, I had heard him. I think he probably was cussing or something downstairs, and I thought,
Oh,
ooh,
yeah.
like he wasn't showing things that were kind of made him seem like he was a believer. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just flattered by the fact that he had added me on Snapchat. So then, like the next day, or maybe a couple days later, I think it was the next day, we had an assembly that we had to go to, and every student was required to get to like be in that assembly. Well, I remember sitting there next to you, of course, and I got a message from Keegan, and I was like, "Oh no, do I open it?" Like I was nervous about it, and then sure enough, I open it, and he was asking me if we wanted to go to breakfast with him. I think he said like me and you. I don't think it was just me that he was asking, but I thought, who is this guy? I mean, goodness, we met last night, and he's asking us to go hang out and go to breakfast or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't even know if it was supposed to be like for a date. I'm sure he wanted to get to know us better. We're girls, whatever. So, anyways,
You.
I said no.
Did you actually?
Yeah, because we had a cafeteria card, so
Oh, yeah.
we had a meal plan,
Meal
and
plan.
we could eat for free in the cafeteria. So I was like, I think we're just gonna eat in the cafeteria. But I said, like you can sit with us if you want, and I think he did. Ended up sitting with us.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, yeah. I don't know. That's just the start to how I met Keegan, who is now my husband. I
Mhm.
think maybe in the future we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I don't know. You have anything else you want to say about college? I mean, As the years went on, I think college changed. Like our
Oh, for
freshman
sure.
year was really like where we got to know everyone and be friends with everyone, and then my sophomore year, even friendships had cut off. Some people had left.
I feel like a bunch of our freshman class
Yeah,
left.
more people like just move schools, which is kind of common for CBC because a lot of people can't deal with the rules that they have, and
The
like
rules and like I think I mentioned earlier, I wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse. Well, they had like no
right
medical, like their degree options were
are
not
slim.
very,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
it
still are
wasn't.
slim. Like
Yeah,
they don't have everything that you would need just because it's a small school. So
yeah. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I mean, I feel like your freshman year, you take so much, like gen ed, whatever you would call that.
right, you have time.
You don't have to know,
So
but
what
I
did you
figured it
end up
out.
doing?
Elementary education. Yeah.
And did you like that?
Oh, I loved, hated it.
Yeah.
I did not. Miss Weaver made that experience worth it. It was hard. You wouldn't think that it was hard, and every time you would say something to someone, they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, y'all are just like coloring all day," and like, but it was
No.
so hard, and but it's so different than actual teaching. Like it's completely different. I think, not that my opinion matters, but you need to be in a classroom. Like not a
That's the best
college
way to learn.
classroom. Yes, I learned so much more my clinicals, like my internship, where I was in a school every single day, like pretending to be a teacher with another teacher present, like more than I did the 4 years I was there.
No, I mean, I knew it was hard because we lived together
Oh gosh.
during
Yeah.
some of the hardest time. So, freshman year we were roommates.
Yes.
Sophomore year of college, Maddie lived at home to save money
Yeah.
because it was only like 30 minutes
Right.
of a drive, and then I lived with our friend Lexi. We were roommates
Mhm.
sophomore year, and then junior year we actually moved in back together at a sketchy apartment in
Oh
Conway. Oh my
gosh.
goodness, that was
Yeah.
something. But the rent was cheap, so.
Yeah.
And then my senior year, you were living at home again?
Yeah. I think I commuted again.
And then I was lived with my cousin Emily because she actually ended up moving and coming to UCA her sophomore year. So we were both
Mhm.
in Conway together and our schools were right down the road. So she had a little apartment and her roommate moved out. So we decided to move in together and that was a lot of fun too. But
Another thing about like the teaching program is like a lot of the time you're not at CBC. You're in a
yes,
classroom.
that's true.
So it changed from like being at CBC all the time with the same people. And then like once you get into your like major, the classes like we had four people in our all of my classes.
That's right.
Four. Um which was nice because we were all like super close and we helped each other out a lot. But like those people that you might have gotten close to early on in college, like you didn't have classes with them, so you never saw them.
Right.
And I didn't live on campus either, or I
Yeah.
wasn't in Conway a lot. I worked at Small Fry, so
Yeah, I had kind of befriended some different people than
yeah,
that you maybe didn't know or weren't as close with
yeah,
just through being on the campus for
right.
another year at least. So I was on campus for 2 years and just always being at the school obviously. But
Mhm.
I saw that your school was hard because I lived with you and I saw all the workload that you constantly had so much homework.
Oh my gosh.
Lesson plans. I remember you having to do those were so much work.
And
And
they
you would
were just
just show me and I'm like,
yeah.
I can't believe this. This is a lot.
And it's funny because then you go into the classroom and you're like, your lesson plans for an entire week is one page, and your lesson plan for one lesson for one subject would be like 4 pages
Ugh.
minimum.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
it was just
So
not realistic,
right.
I would say.
I actually didn't know what in the world I was going to do either for a
Mhm.
major in college, and I just had to pick a major. At least felt that I had to, so I just picked business.
Yeah.
And they had these little meetings during our orientation week that we would have to go to. I remember going to that meeting with all the business professors, and I was like, "Do I want to do this?" First
I
of
feel like
all,
those professors were intense.
intimidating,
Yeah.
yeah, like, they were good teachers, but they
Yeah,
were intense,
for
yeah,
sure.
intense, but so, business, there's a lot of math classes you have to take, like accounting and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I remember them talking about all those things, and I'm like, "Oh my, I don't think this is what I'm supposed to be doing, I think I picked the wrong thing," so, literally after that, I was like, "I'm changing my major, like, I'm not gonna stick with business, this is not what I wanna do," so,
Mhm.
I thought about it for a long time, I looked at the list, and I just was, like, praying, I was like, "God, what do you want me to do?" I mean what should I do? I don't know. I was lost. I didn't really know. And then I saw communications was a major, and I was like, you know what? I like talking to people. Like,
Yeah.
I like writing. That's more of a writing
Yeah.
journalism type degree. Those are things that I always enjoyed. And there's a lot of things. Like, it's a pretty broad thing, a
Mhm.
broad major to have. So I decided to do communications, and I ended up loving it. I'm really glad that I did it. It was a lot of writing. We had a lot of papers and things like that we had to write,
Mhm.
but those were things that I enjoyed more than like math and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I actually really enjoyed. There was a lot of journalism to do with communications major, at least at CBC. We would take video and video and photography classes and stuff like that that I really liked, honestly. So uh, that was fun, and yeah, I don't know. That's what I did. I did public relations. It was my emphasis was public relations, but and that's all for our first episode of Two Peas in a Pod, the podcast with Maddie and Liz. Feel free to tune in to our future episodes. We will be releasing episodes on YouTube and Spotify. We don't really have a set schedule for when they will be released yet, but if you wanted to send us an email with maybe question and answer Q&A
Yeah.
questions, or also
Ideas of or what you want to
yeah,
listen to hear, what you
ideas.
want to hear.
Yeah, our email. So we created an email. It is the number 2 peas in a pod ml@gmail.com. That's our email. And then our YouTube page is just two, as in the word TWO, peas in a pod with Maddie and Liz, or actually Maddie Liz. So those are the ways you can listen to us. Subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Bye.